Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another Total War Warhammer video about the vampire counts. Today we're going to be talking about their army roster, which was announced in full today. So we're going to talk a little bit about their playstyle first, and then we'll go over the legendary lords, the key units, and then the full roster. So, their playstyle: embrace your corruption. Certain vampire counts, heroes, and buildings generate vampiric corruption within campaign map provinces. Travelling through uncorrupted terrain causes attrition, and for this reason, it's wise to send vampire counts heroes ahead to spread corruption. Certain buildings can also generate corruption in adjacent regions, reducing public order in enemy territory. If this is left unchecked, it can lead to handy vampiric rebellions. Vampire counts field no ranged units at all. However, the unique combination of solid infantry, fast flanking cavalry, terror-causing units, powerful magic, immunity to panic, and some of the best flying units in the game means they're nonetheless a force to be reckoned with. And even death may die. One of the vampire count's greatest military strengths is the ability to raise the dead. This is useful in battles. Your necromancers can bring extra units of zombies and skeletons into play, but it's also a way to instantly recruit full units into your army on the campaign map wherever you are in the world. So that really does give you a flavour of what it's going to be like to play as the vampire counts. I'm extremely tempted to do a campaign as them. They do sound like a very interesting faction to play as. The fact that you should spread corruption before invading to ensure that you don't suffer attrition when you move is definitely a very interesting and tactical aspect that you need to take into account with the vampire counts. And the fact that you can actually raise units on the campaign map, not just on the battle map, is also something to take into account, and that's definitely something that I would probably use quite a lot. So the first legendary lord, which we have known about for quite a while, is Mannfred Von Carstein. So Mannfred Von Carstein exhibits a characteristic that, in addition to his vampiric speed and strength, is exceedingly dangerous. That characteristic is cunning. Whilst others of his bloodline spent aeons bickering and infighting, nearly destroying the dynasty in the process, Manfred devoted his efforts to deepening his knowledge of necromantic lore. He made unholy pilgrimages to ancient tombs of Nekahara and the forgotten city of Lamia, where the secrets of the Lich Priests were wrestled from dissected papyrus and ancient scriptures written on sheaves of tanned human skin. During this time, he was able to conceal his dark gifts by travelling in the guise of an imperial lord. The only hints left to his true nature were husk whisperers and extinguished corpses found here and there where an unnamed lord of prodigious wealth had passed through not long before. When Manfred returned and revealed himself fully, he was transformed almost beyond recognition, his face contorted and corpse-like, his bare scalp writhing with necromantic power. So he's not someone that you want to mess with. So he's corrupted himself to the point where he definitely probably couldn't pass for a human lord anymore. And from the image you'll see of Manfred, very imposing character also. I've just realised halfway through reading this roster that I'm not wearing my glasses, so if I'm kind of reading this while recording, so if I make a mistake, then I'm just going to blame it on the fact that I haven't got my glasses on. But anyway, the next legendary lord is Heinrich Kemmler. It is said that the end goal of power is power itself. In no being, living or dead, is this personified more singularly than in Heinrich Kemmler. An avid enthusiast of the necromantic arts from his youth, by the time he was a man, his command of the nefarious, morbid magics that rule the dead were powerful almost beyond equal. His ascendant star led him to defile the most ancient and secret of tombs in search of a bit of knowledge that he sought so fervently. In time, his rivals banded together to engineer a defeat that left Kemmler broken both in body and mind, half sane and disfigured. The man who once called himself Lichmaster spent a great many years wandering the Grey Mountains as little more than a beggar. In due course, subtly guided by forces unknown, the haggard necromancer came across the monolithic burial mound of a once great chaos champion. Here, Kemmler struck a terrible pact with the gods that they would restore his health and give him power greater than he had ever previously lost, and in exchange he resolved to do their bidding, becoming a tool of unilateral destruction. Now once more, husk whisperers of the Lichmaster send shivers of fear down tavern goers' spines and plague their children's minds with terrible nightmares. So I'm not too sure how he fits into the vampire counts lore, as it were. So if you know anything about Heinrich Kemmler, make sure to let me know in the comments. I'd be very interested to read a bit more about him. But I'm just going from what Total War have put on their blog post, which I'll link in the description in case you're interested in reading the entire blog post, not just me kind of reading through the different bits and bobs. So, there are several key units for the vampiric roster. So the first one that they mention is Grave Guard. So upon the walls of the vampire-haunted keeps of Sylvania, deathless warriors clad in screeching rust gnawed armour patrol the walls tirelessly. These dread sentries of the Grave Guard, wights drawn from their ancient tombs to act as guardians for their vampire rulers. So they're probably the most, I guess you call them experienced warriors. Long dead, their physical bodies decayed eons ago. Now these eerie sentinels are composed of time-bleached bone, tattered rags of flesh and enchanted blades, held together by necromantic magic powerful enough to outlast the centuries and countless battles they have fought. Not ones you'd want to cross on a day-to-day basis, I don't think. Crypt Horrors. Spoken in hushed whispers by night watchmen and gravekeepers, Crypt Horrors are thankfully a rare sight. They are in fact crypt ghouls that have undergone a terrible transformation. The only way for a vampire to coerce a lowly crypt ghoul to undergo such a monstrous evolution is to open their own veins to the beast, letting them sup upon their own immortal blood. As such, a crypt horror is an abomination, reviled by all but most desperate members of the midnight aristocracy. If it were not for the incredible strength in battle, their regenerative capacity, and the rotting poison that courses through their gore-encrusted fangs, their loathsome presence is one that even the Lord of Undeath would surely avoid. This roster's just getting, well, gross. The Vargulf. Within every vampire's soul there lies a ravenous, slavering hunger, a drive to feed on the blood of the living that cannot be ignored. The only shackle preventing utter submission to this thirst is humanity. To control this, most vampires enjoy ideas of aristocracy, privilege, or debased forms of martial honour, clinging to whatever vestiges of their past lives they can. Some, however, choose to abandon themselves to their inner urges, allowing their bestial nature to overcome them and transform them wholly. Unbound by human form, they devolve to become a towering, knotted mass of muscle, claw and tooth, capable of crushing a chariot as if it were made of paper. Which I think is the creature that we saw ambush the dwarves in the Vampire Counts trailer. If I've got that wrong, please do correct me. Vargheists. It is said that Vargheists are the darkness in a vampire's rugged soul made manifest. Vampire siblings not slain outright are imprisoned in the catacombs far below the Von Carstein's castles, sealed in stone sarcophagi and forgotten. As warpstone-tainted water leaked into the baroque cocoon, a dread change takes place. What emerges centuries later is no longer a lord of the undead, but a bestial creature of knotted muscle with a leathery wingspan. Though each Vargheist emerges from its prison far stronger in body, it is invariably weaker in mind. Thoughts of vengeance on the incarcerator have long since been replaced with a desperate, frenzied thirst. So again, another huge creature that the Vampire Counts can use in their roster. And the Terrorgeist. In the hidden reaches of Sylvania, Titanic Bats the size of dragons soar out from their caves to hunt horses, caravans and pegasi. It is the mortal remains of such monstrous that the necromantic lords bind to their will. In life they are terrifying, in death they are almost unstoppable, soaring above the clouds on tattered wings, with decomposing flesh barely clinging to the exposed bones. These apex predators grant true air superiority to their riders, and send all others fleeing for their very lives. So it kind of sounds a bit like a zombie dragon, but I guess they're two different things, but feel free to correct me on that as well. So I'm sure there's people watching that have far superior knowledge of the Vampire Counts than I. So, of course, put your knowledge in the comments. Be very interested to see what you have to say. So, for the full unit rosters, so these are all of the units that are available to the Vampire Counts. So, listen up. So, the Legendary Lords that on release are going to be Mannfred Von Carstein and Heinrich Kemmler. Lords, there's the Master Necromancer, who's a caster from the lore of vampires. There's also the Vampire Lord, who's melee/caster, again from the lore of vampires. Heroes, there's a Banshee, which is a melee unit, a Necromancer, which is a caster, which is from the lore of vampires. There's a Vampire, which is a melee/caster through the Lord of Death, and a White King, which is melee. The mounts that the vampire counts have access to: a Zombie Dragon, Skeletal Steed, Barded Skeletal Steed, Hell Steed, Nightmare, and a Barded Nightmare. Melee infantry: there's Skeleton Warriors, Skeleton Spearmen, Zombies, Graveguard with great weapons, Crypt Ghouls, and Khan Wraiths. There's a melee monstrous infantry, melee monstrous infantry of Crypt Horrors. And there's melee monstrous infantry flying, which are Vargheists, melee cavalry, which are Black Knights of Lances, and Hex Wraiths. The vehicles, they have the Black Coach, melee war beasts, Direwolves, melee war beasts flying are Fell Bats, melee monsters are Vargulf, and a melee monsters flying as a Geist. So, quite a mixture of melee units and monstrous creatures, which I would not want to face. So, I imagine that definitely does make up for their lack of archers or just other missile units. And it's very exciting. So we now got all of the rosters for all the factions, I believe. Unless I'm forgetting one. I don't think I am though. But yeah, so that is the Vampire Counts roster. The blog post is in the link below. But it's all very exciting news, really. Just to be this close to release. I mean, we've still got 2 months to go. So my phone would go off when I'm recording. It's always the way. Doesn't go off all day. And then I get a text message. So I've lost my train of thought. This is a very professional video, as per all of my videos. I'm very excited to see more in the coming days and weeks from what Total War has to offer. I will, of course, be covering it on the channel. If you want to read more about the rosters, the blog post is in the link below in the description. And until next time, everyone, if you've enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. And until next time, I bid you a very, very good day.